Welcome to Still with Purpose. This is Amanda and Christy.
Our goal is to dig deep and discuss real, raw subjects in pursuit of greater self-awareness, positive transformation, and healing, and to link arms and journey with you as we discover purpose and passion in life together.
Before we jump in, we'd like to ask if Still with Purpose has ever helped you feel seen, encouraged you to heal, helped you to breathe a little deeper, think differently, or reminded you that you're not alone. Please take a moment to follow the show, leave a review, and share this episode with someone you believe would get great value from it.
That simple act helps this message reach more humans, and we are so grateful for every single one of you walking this journey with us. We're so glad you're here. Let's get into today's conversation. Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're talking about the question, why is it so easy to trust after the miracle, but so hard to trust while you're still waiting for it? Amanda, what quote do you have for us?
Contentment is not found in outcomes, it's found in trust. And I wanted to write about this sermon that I listened to. This was a super powerful service I was in a couple weeks ago. And the pastor was talking about Moses, how at the end of crossing the Red Sea, there's a bunch of songs about it because the Red Sea swallows up the enemy. There's a bunch of songs about it. And he was talking about, you sing about when things are at the end and we have the miracle, but really the contentment and joy is also in the believing and the trusting and the waiting and the listening and the questioning and, the whole journey beforehand. If we could be joyful and content in that too, that's what he's looking for. And then taking the bold move to step into the Red Sea and trusting it's not going to swallow you up or go over your head and drown you. There's just so much to the trust level of what we put in God's hands that I just thought it was a very powerful service for me personally to hear. He was also saying, bring your gifts, whatever you have, to the table, and then God's gonna double portion those. He's gonna bring them to the people that need to hear them and see them and all that stuff. So kind of like what we were talking about last week with Felty is just wait and he will bring you the work, the answers, the out of the blue miracles. And that's where you find joy and trust and contentment is in that waiting period of that he's got a plan.
And the quote, I love that it says, contentment's not found in the outcome, it's found in the trust, because that is a joyful feeling when you just know that you can just trust him. Think about a trust fall. If you 100% believe that all your teammates around you are going to catch you when you fall, how secure does that feel?
You might yell while you're going back or have some fear for a couple seconds. But once you land, because this is what we used to do at our seminars at trust falls, I used to take photos of them. And I could see all the emotion going down in my picture status when I would go back to edit. And at the end, it's just utter joy of that's so great that I believed in these people. And now my trust and faith is built in humanity. But to a spiritual level, this matters to build this trust.
Yeah. And like you're saying, it's not even necessarily in the outcome. So going back to the trust fall analogy, it's not even necessarily in when you're caught. But with God, it's as you're going through the fall or the process, whatever it may be, the trial, the tribulation, knowing that you can trust is such a joyful feeling.
Yeah. You got me. You got me. Yeah. He's got you.
Yeah.
He does. And that's why we have to keep talking about it.
Yes.
And that's why we feel called to do this podcast is because we're constantly growing and we want to share what God is doing.
That's right.
Why, when things finally work out, when the miracle comes, we're full of gratitude, peace, and confidence, but in the waiting, we're anxious, questioning, and unsettled. We celebrate when the doors open, but we wrestle when it feels like nothing is moving. The tension isn't new. It's completely human, and it's been around since the first human was created. It's the space between what we believe and what we actually live out, because the truth is contentment isn't proven after the breakthrough. It's revealed in the waiting. And most of us don't struggle with gratitude. We struggle with trust before we have a reason to feel it.
All of this is speaking directly to me in this whole house situation, right?
I mean,
seriously, every word that's coming out of your mouth, I'm like, I know once it happens, I'm going to be super grateful.
Yeah, but try and find joy and contentment now, knowing
Yes.
that he has a plan.
And you know what? I really have been telling myself this whole time, God's got it figured out. I don't need to even worry about it. So it's weird because I do feel that. I do believe that. I think maybe I'm like, what if God's plan is for it to take another 6 months? What then?
Why would he want to exhaust my resources?
Yeah.
That's exactly where I'm at. You have one foot over here and one over here, and the line keeps getting
Yeah.
further and further away.
Like I'm ready to do this, but this feels so scary being put in this position. So I'm really trying to trust it and trust
But
you.
also, you asked God clearly on this. So you have that to fall back on. And it's like, God, you told me to write my book, right? I have tons of scripture. I have 3 weeks of praying about it. So he must have a plan.
You're right. And we've just got to be content in that trust.
Well, we don't have to do anything.
No, but he wants us to be.
I think it's just if we can master that, just being joyful and content before we have any answers.
Well, we could also choose to not be content and be miserable. But, we talked about that's our choice.
And I think it might take the same amount of time, if not more, choosing
Right.
to be bitter and angry, because that kind of energy doesn't push anything through, in my opinion. That's the same energy as when I'm in a hurry. Nothing goes well. Everyone in front of me in a car is bad. There's a train. It's just all these things. I put the scripture Philippians 4:12-13. I have learned to be content in all circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all this through him who gives me strength. And people always say the last sentence all the time, but they don't really read, the scriptures before that really kind of explain it.
Yeah. The piece of it that says, I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. The situation that I'm in right now, I'm working towards having less. So why am I worried about potentially having less after this situation passes? I shouldn't be. I should be grateful for that, right?
I mean, that's the whole crux of it all, is we either trust him or we don't.
Well, and the idea I've learned to be content living in plenty or in want. That's the desire. So it's this push-pull of like, no, that's how I want to live, but I'm scared to do it,
Well, then it goes to that Roman scripture of, I want to do this, but I do that.
Yes. Why do I do what I don't want to do?
Yeah, he knows this about us. This is all our core. And I think he enjoys not watching us struggle, but actually get on the other side of, oh, I actually made that hard.
Getting beyond ourselves and our fleshly weaknesses.
I put some things to ponder around this subject, and let's see what you guys think. Most people celebrate the outcome, but struggle the whole entire process. We trust God after the miracle, not before it. Gratitude often shows up after we have our proof, not in faith. The in-between is where belief is actually tested. And you can have everything and still be discontent, and you can have nothing and still be at peace. And I would say that's true. I would say I've probably had the least in my life in the last 5-6 years, but am peaceful and content. Just like you're talking about, you want to simplify.
This is going to sound really petty, like a really petty example, but it's true. Going back to what we were talking about last week with Felty, I think it was actually after we stopped recording, he was talking about they practice having a small circle of friends because the more friends you have, the more stress it is. And that's too with stuff, right? More at peace with less stuff. So I was actually I always talk about work, sorry, but I was going into my office, which I've mentioned I have to go into the office again, and it's been a change. And I was going in yesterday morning and I was thinking to myself, gosh, I really need to put some stuff at my desk because it is literally still bare. And I've been going back to the office now for months.
Like you haven't accepted that you have to go in every day.
and my coworkers who went back the same time I did, they have pictures at their desk and lamps and, all the things that make it feel homey. And I literally have nothing. But as soon as I thought about that, I had a tinge of guilt that I haven't made it homey. But I was like, Christy, why would you do that? Because if anything ever changes, and not like planning on anything changing, let me just throw that out there. But if it does, then you have all this stuff. Like, what do I do with it? And those are the types of things that I'm trying to eliminate out of my life. Or even like, don't worry about things changing. What about you got to keep that stuff dusted or keep it straight, you know?
Right.
And
It's
so
distracting too.
it is distracting. So as soon as I thought through it, I'm like, no, never mind. I don't need anything at my desk. So if anyone comes and visits me at my office, you're going to see it's real bare. But I'm okay with that.
That's actually funny.
So the last one you said was you can have everything and still be discontent, and you can have nothing and still be at peace. And I think that statement is very true. We can have all the things in the world and be discontent.
Yeah.
And when we simplify, that's where we can find contentment.
Also, if you are in a job that you're working your butt off and you have pictures of your family on your desk, go home to your family. Don't just photos of them looking at you and missing you. They miss you. Just go home to your family. That's
I
what I
remember
would
I
say.
used to have photos of my girls at my desk, and I realized this was pre-COVID actually. At one point I was like, oh my gosh, those are their school photos from like 3 years ago. You know what I mean? Just like
Yeah.
time goes by and now they're way older and look way different. And here I am still at my desk.
I feel like contentment is learned. It's not automatic. And discontent often comes from focusing on what hasn't happened yet. So if we can shift that focus, I think it will bring us a lot of peace. There's a quote, the waiting season reveals what you actually believe.
Interesting.
Like when you go through a trial, you see at the core what your character is. So we pray, we hope, we ask, but until we see movement, we wrestle. We check in for signs, we question timing, we wonder if anything is actually happening. I think we just told great stories on that.
Mhm.
Peace is not the result of answered prayers. It's the posture before they are. So basically, you don't need more proof, you need deeper trust. That's just the fine line. Why do we only trust after we see, when faith was always meant for before the solution, before the miracle?
Because it's scary. It's unknown. We're not in control.
And we don't fully trust.
Yeah.
The real question becomes, what are you believing when nothing is changing? Because that is where your faith is actually formed, because it is a faith walk. It's not a faith second. It's a faith journey, a faith walk. Not when everything works out, but when you have evidence yet that it will. The waiting exposes what you rely on. It reveals whether your peace is rooted in outcomes or if it's rooted in trust.
What was brought to mind, I don't know if you want to talk about it, but I thought about your mom. Like, her faith is not rooted in an outcome that most of us would think she would be praying for. Her faith is rooted in, hey, this is God's plan.
Yeah.
So she's a great example of exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see someone with that faith level, it's hard to not raise yours because you become who you hang around. So if I'm going to hang around someone with that kind of faith, I better get over my little contentment issues.
Right.
And just watch for miracles. I mean, yeah, to get a call out of the blue that my mom has terminal cancer is just a game changer, you know? And she has the faith to believe that God can heal her or take her home to Jesus. So both are great solutions to her problem. And so that's just such a different take on it. Yeah. And I think you can only have that take when you have the relationship that you know, or the trust that you know that you know.
Yeah. And it sounds like she's content.
She's totally content. She's been in Mexico for 6 weeks. At a fully, and I'm going there in a couple days, at an all-inclusive, 6 pools, great weather, maids, you know, and she's just being loved on and she's hanging out with God. So it's pretty dang cool. I'm taking it as, one, gratitude for getting time with her like that, where we're not focused on anything except just having really a good time. And it's huge for us because the ranch really stole from our relationship. It really did. So it's changed a ton, and it's time to like get back to the basics of what our relationship is. And it's a lot of humor, but it's a lot of just love talking about God and what he's doing. So
That's
it'll be good.
exciting. I can't wait to hear all about your time, and just happy that you have it.
We don't know
Yeah.
anything that's going to happen in our lives. And
Mm.
I could choose total devastation. I'm not saying this is easy by any means, but we all are going to die.
Mhm.
And so you can't get out of death, and you can choose to make yourself miserable and spend your last days whining and complaining. And I'm not talking down to anyone that is in pain and in the struggle. I'm just saying, or we can leave a legacy the best we can with the energy that we have today.
Yeah.
Which makes this podcast even more important to me, honestly.
Oh, for sure.
Because I'm absolutely the woman I am today because of my mother.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. So the real question becomes, what are you believing when nothing is changing? Because that is where your faith is actually formed, and not when everything works out, but when you have no evidence that it will. So shift the focus to the cost of your discontentment, the stealing of your joy. When we live in constant dissatisfaction with where we are, we miss what is being built in us. We rush the process, we compare timelines, and stay mentally stuck in not yet. And this is probably my biggest one. But what about this? It's constant. But there is strength being formed in that space always when you are not doing the comparison thing. There's character being developed, there's clarity being shaped that wouldn't exist if everything came instantly.
We were just talking about that with Belty, right? 9 years that it took for him to get out of the Amish culture.
And if he would have moved too soon, it would have been in his flesh and his decision, and he would have lost his family.
So it's good to remember that not only is God's plan the best because he's all knowing and we are not, but he does love us. And his plan is for our best interest, for us to learn what we need to learn to face the next step.
Yeah.
Or to prepare us in whatever way that God knows we need to be prepared. And that brings in the trust factor. We've got to trust that it's happening the way that it's happening because of a good reason.
And ultimately, it goes back to worthiness. If we don't feel worthy of the answer or the miracle anyway, I don't know that we'd even ask for the prayer. Certainly wouldn't have the trust level to believe that it actually could go the way God wants it to go, or trust that whatever the outcome is the best one. And even if that means death.
Well, that's not such a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. If you're a believer and you know where you're headed after death, it's a great thing.
So that's why I wanted to share about my mom and about the sermon, because it really convicted me to really look at what I'm still being discontent about, even though I had a huge miracle, huge answered prayer, and then I heard my mom's news and like the next day. So can you actually grieve and be in joy at the same time? And I absolutely believe yes.
Can you grieve and be in joy at the same time?
In utter gratitude of a miracle, and also hear devastating news the next day and still choose contentment and joy. It's challenging, but it's doable.
I think in one of our recent episodes, we said you can't feel shame and joy in the same body, but that's not what we're saying here. We're saying grief and joy, which I think is possible. The one thing I'm getting out of this, not the one thing, but one of the things the only thing, no, one of the things
that struck a chord here.
No, one of the major things I'm getting out of this is that I think I need to be sure I'm praying for the right thing, praying for not loving the situation that I'm in. God, help me remember this is all part of your plan, and help me to learn the lesson that you're wanting me to learn.
Yeah.
Like rather than praying for an outcome.
Yeah. What do you want me to learn from this?
Yeah.
That's great prayer.
And not necessarily a prayer, but remembering to find the joy in the lesson.
And my favorite prayer for the last 6 months or so has been change my heart for what it needs to be. And then I just wake up and it's changed. It sounds crazy, but seriously, it's happened several times now. Like, wow, that saved a lot of time.
I
just change my heart. I don't know what you want for me, so you tell my heart what it wants. So.
I say that very same prayer often because we don't know. We don't know what's best for us. We just don't. God does.
No, and look at what we choose. It's so mediocre.
Yeah. So make my heart want what you want for me.
Yeah. Also, the flip side of that, break my heart for what breaks your heart. If you want to go that route, it's emotional to see what breaks God's heart. part, but there's another piece of it.
This has been a really great discussion as usual. Should we look at some journaling questions?
Yes.
Okay. We have, where in your life are you waiting for something to change before allowing yourself to feel peace? And what would it look like to choose contentment before you see the outcome? And what is this season building in you that you might miss if everything came instantly?
That's such a good question.
Mm-hmm.
Because when it's over and you have the miracle or the answer or the financial provision, you don't even take the time to really look at it.
Instead of reflecting backwards, it's sitting in it and saying, what's building in me right now?
Well, it's just like grief. Don't try and get around it. Don't hide it. Don't sweep it under the rug. Don't act like it's not there. Don't avoid it. Walk through it.
And in a weird way, be grateful for it.
Be grateful that you loved hard, or be grateful for the relationship you created, even though there might be a loss. I've seen a ton of loss in the last week on Facebook. So if you haven't listened to the grief one, definitely go back and listen to it. It's a solid one. So hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us today. We know your time is valuable, and we're truly grateful you spent part of it with us. We hope this conversation stays with you and helps you move through the week with more clarity, peace, and purpose.
Be sure to visit us at stillwithpurpose.com. And there you can read our bios, sign up for email encouragement and updates on exciting announcements, and also join our Facebook community.
And if Still With Purpose has encouraged you in any way, please remember to follow, leave a quick review, and share with a friend. It helps more people find these conversations. Have a phenomenal week, and we'll see you next time.